And, of course, Easter this week, which is, nicely timed for the school holidays. I know some people are celebrating that. It is an important time of the year, both spiritually, but also socially, relationally, and perhaps an important time to spend time with family, with loved ones, and to perhaps make some Easter traditions together. Joining us on the program now from Family Life, Vanna Jacobs. Kia ora, thanks for your time today.
Kia ora, Andrew. Always a pleasure.
This is a wonderful time of the year, both from a faith point of view and from a family point of view. But some important principles that we can take from Easter and apply to our important relationships.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I think, there's people that talk about the tradition and is it pagan, is it Christian?
Yeah.
Let's not go into that discussion today. And I'd say let's go to the discussion where we actually say what opportunity is presented to us in this rhythm, in this tradition, in this holiday, if you will.
Yeah.
I think a very important one, like in our context as Christians, we know that Easter is all about, Good Friday being the day when, Jesus went to the cross and
Yeah.
he died, and then Resurrection Sunday, and there's those two elements to Easter that I think is really important. But what opportunity is presented in our marriages and in our families, maybe if you're parents with our kids, what conversations can be had around Easter and around the importance of both the Friday and the Sunday? And I love the lyrics of a song. It says, "Friday's good because Sunday's coming."
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're in Friday and Jesus is going to the cross and the prophecies of resurrection was there, but imagine for a moment living in that time.
Yeah.
Imagine Jesus's mother thinking about the fact that my son, who was going to be the savior of the world, is now hanging on a cross and he's maybe breathing his last breath. And in that moment, you're not thinking there's a resurrection coming on Sunday, but of course, reflecting, we know the history. So there are these themes that we get to actually talk about, but also embody and practice in our family and in our rhythms.
I think that's so important because we know the happy ever after, because we know how this is going to end. We've heard the story so many times, many of us, that we're too quick to rush to the happy ever after instead of sitting in the sorrow of the disappointment and the brokenness. And that is true of Easter, but it's also true of our relationships. Yes, we hold on to hope, but sometimes there will be dark seasons, there will be disappointment, there will be brokenness, perhaps death.
That's right. And sometimes that hits us unexpected, but sometimes, like Jesus, we actually have to surrender to that process of going to the cross ourselves.
Yeah.
So maybe two things to quickly share with you and the audience today is I've got in front of me here our resurrection eggs. Now, you may have seen these.
Yeah.
It's this tray of plastic eggs, and each of them have a little artifact. And I'm taking out a little stone here.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you have a little Easter egg hunt with your kids, and there's a story, and each artifact tells a piece of the story. The stone, of course, what do you think that indicates in the Easter story?
Is rolled away, right?
Come on. The stone is rolled away. There's a song in there, I think.
Yeah.
But we won't go there. And then you go through them. There's one with the crown of thorns and all that. And eventually you get one that you open up and there's nothing inside. And what do you think that would signify?
Empty tomb, I'm going with.
There you go.
Yeah.
You nailed it. So it's on the one aspect is how can you be creative about the narrative, the Easter story? Okay. But I recently learned something even more significant about the egg, the Easter egg. And I don't know if you know this, but the eggs we use actually originally come from a pagan tradition.
Okay.
And there would be eggs decorated for kings and rich people, and basically in the hope that they would resurrect, and they would paint these eggs with gold and all these things. But the reality is none of those kings ever resurrected.
Mm-hmm.
But our king did.
Yes.
And so when you think about the symbol of an egg, therein lies the cracking of the egg, which is the breaking of something for new life. to come forth. And I want to encourage our listeners today, as it relates to your family life, as it relates to just even your personal life and the story of Jesus and Easter and hope and death and resurrection, with some words that we encourage a lot of couples that come to our weekend to remember. On the first night, we talk about the myths of marriage and realize that a lot of people go through some disappointments in their marriage and maybe expectations that haven't been met. But then we say, maybe you just need to get a new relationship. And it comes as a bit of a shock because, I thought we had to work on our relationships, but with the same person. And so my encouragement here today is, in your married life, in your family life, in your personal life, what needs to die for new life to come forth?
Wow.
What needs to die for the thing that God is creating to be produced in your marriage, in your parenting, in your children's life? And how are we being invited to follow Jesus through to the cross and then through to being raised in new life together with him?
Such wonderful thoughts there. And hey, what do we need to set aside? Our own selfishness? What needs to die so that new things, new life in our marriage can thrive? Hey, fantastic thoughts as we do head towards Easter. Vana, those cool little eggs. Now, if people wanted to get copies of this, now this will be a little bit of an heirloom within your family to bring out every Easter. We're getting pretty close to the day, but if people wanted to jump online, those are still available for purchase before this Easter, are they?
Those are online. I cannot guarantee that it will reach you by then, but they can hop onto familylife.nz or go into a Manna store. I think they've got them in their stores, most of their stores across the country. So if you want to try and get one before Easter, you can do that, or make a plan for next year.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Make a makeshift Easter egg thing and just use something creative to share the story of Easter, the story of the death and the resurrection of Jesus and new hope and what that means for you and me personally.
Super good stuff, Vanna. Well, I do hope that Easter is a good time of reflection and blessing for you and your family. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.